What's going on, everybody? This is Coach Phil. It's either the most country playalistic Cadillac funky music that I've heard. Where did that come from? And have you always been that confident in yourself as we take a step into your early beginnings?
Well, it's something that it just came off the top of my head. But as far as being confident, definitely, it's been that way for a long time. And I would call it a humble confidence. I don't know if that's an oxymoron, but it was instilled in me at a young age. And hopefully when no one is offended by this story, but I remember how it started off. I remember I was like 6 or 7. I can't remember my age at the time. And I was being teased at school. And you may understand this. I was being teased at school because I was my darker complexion. And it wasn't only by, the white kids. It was by some of the lighter skinned kids. I was only one of the few kids who had darker skin. So I was being teased. And it wasn't anything too malicious or anything. But, as a young kid, you could start thinking about, your dark skin. You start thinking about, should I wear dark clothes to school and all that. So I came home and told my parents what had happened. And I don't exactly remember. It was my mother. My father was there. It was my mother who was doing all the talking. I can't remember what she said. And I should have asked her before she passed. I never asked her, but she said something that day. And after what she embedded in me, after that day, you couldn't tell me anything. I walked on water. There was no way you could inflict or anything and say anything about me as far as my skin complexion, about what I looked like. I had skinny legs. You couldn't say anything to me. And I don't know what my mother said, but after that day, it was cockiness and confident, which I think is the same thing. Cockiness is confidence is nothing but cockiness with makeup on. But after that day, I was pretty confident about not only what I look like, but just myself in general, because looks fade, but the way you feel about yourself, the way you carry yourself, that's confidence that will last forever. So ever since that day, hey, it's been a lot of confidence that's been in me.
You're a humble brag. There's nothing wrong with that. In order to play professional sports or just do anything to be the best at what you do, you gotta be confident. You gotta be a little downright arrogant. There ain't nobody even in business, you gotta be a little confident. And it's great that you mentioned your mother. My mother did the same thing. I had to deal with a lot of that as well, growing up too, being a dark complexion. But you grow up to be an ebony Kang every now and then. So
there we go, baby.
It's funny. We when I was growing up, it was out of style. It was the lights, and not even making a race thing, but you know how it is with us as Black people. Light skins were in style in the late 90s, and then all of a sudden, by the time I got to high school, it was like 2008. Oh, love yourself, be Black. Everybody wanted to wear jerseys, and I'm like, so y'all gonna sit there and do this right when I get to high school at the most acne having time for me? Like, all right, bet, I got you.
Yeah, they call me chocolate milk, baby. Chocolate milk is what they call me.
They call me a lot of things that I ain't gonna sit here and say. But
we can't talk about those.
We can't talk about. I harbor it in my heart. But you were born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, to Miss Betty and Garland Stegall. Talk to us about your parents, man. The upbringing that you had. You were one of 5. Is that correct?
I'm one of five, the youngest of five, and my parents. I always say this, about my father. Besides Jesus Christ, the greatest man who walked this earth, my parents allowed all five of their siblings to live a great life. We didn't realize, at least I didn't realize, that we were struggling because my parents worked so hard to provide a great life for us. We had a nice house. We were provided with being able to wear decent clothes. By the time I got to high school, I was going to a Catholic school, which they paid for, but it was a struggle. I didn't know there were some months when I was growing up that we almost had our house get foreclosed on. I never knew any of this stuff because the life I lived was a pretty comfortable life. It was because of the hard work my parents put in. Neither one of them were college educated, but they made sure all five of their kids went to college and graduated with college, which was unseen back then. I was born in 1970 and my siblings, of course, were born before that. So the fact that all five of their black kids graduated from college says a lot about the things that my parents were able to do with what little they had. So if not for my parents, there's no way I could have achieved all the things I achieved in my life.
I feel you there, man. I mean, like, I grew up with my mother and my stepfather, and I always equate it to, like, I'm the baby of my siblings. We have different mothers, but we have the same father, and I'm the baby of my cousins. And a lot of the things that I learned along the way, which is from being a baby, was my mom never really like baby talked me, or she kind of I didn't know we was going through it until like maybe my freshman year. So I can understand, like, your parents try to protect you. And now me having kids, I do the same thing. Like, hey, you don't need to worry about that. It's not your
fight. Right.
It's not for you. But I hope that, like, when you say that, man, I hope that that passed down to my kids. Like, hey, you just enjoy school. You enjoy doing your job. I want you to build the square bigger than what I made it for you. So
there we go.
It's out of respect for that, You attended Roger Bacon High School. Now, you were all-state football, basketball, and in your younger years, you set a Pop Warner record for 87 rushing touchdowns as running back. Now, is that true, or is that just that old school?
No,
I was bad back in the day.
No. I played for an organization from the time I started playing. I was like 6 or 7, all the way up to I was 12. Called P&O, was Parchment and Northern. This organization produced a bunch of professional athletes. Within this organization, you had a guy. I don't know if you remember David Justice, who played professional baseball.
David Halle Berry played for the Braves. Yes.
Ken Griffey Jr. played in this organization. Another guy named Mike Middleton, who was an NFL player. There was a couple other guys. So this organization was top notch. And back then, I was a running back. I was just so much faster than everyone. They would pretty much just give me the ball and say, run. There weren't much passing going on, but because I was so much faster than anybody, I would average 4 or 5 touchdowns a game, every game. So those 87 touchdowns I scored throughout those years, those are factual. I wish I had some film, some evidence. No one was taping much back then, but it's all true, 100%.
A lot of toss left, toss right.
That's all it was. There was no scheme. Just give Milt the ball and let him run. My best friend, who's still my best friend to this day, was the quarterback. He had the easiest job in the world. Just hand it off to me and let me run downfield and score. That's pretty much it. Our favorite play was a 45 cross buck. That was our main play.
You had a great time. First of all, 87 touchdowns is nothing to snuff at. But at your time at Roger Bacon High School, was there a lot of great talent around you as far as like the high school? Because we always think of Ohio is Ohio. You think of grounded like Youngstown and those type of places.
Yep.
Power running guys like from my era, Maurice Claret, and him coming out of there going to Ohio State. What was that like for you? And did you always know, I'm gonna play football, I'm gonna do this, commit all the way, or you were just, hey, I'm living?
I was living. As far as talent at my school, there wasn't too much. It was a Catholic school, and the Catholic schools in Cincinnati, some of the best sports programs. But my Catholic school was a smaller Catholic school, and we weren't that good in sports. In my 4 years, I think we won maybe 7 or 8 total football games, maybe 10 or 11, but it wasn't too many football games. But I enjoyed it, and I was just living. I never had any sights set on being a professional athlete. I never had any sights set on that. I was just enjoying it.
Right.
My parents and older siblings never talked about that. My parents weren't really into sports. They were just into me being the best individual I could be and working hard and being the best at whatever I was doing. May it be school, may it be sports, but most importantly, being the best person. So my thing was just going out there and being the best I could do. I never had any inkling of being a professional athlete. I did want to play sports in college, but my first love was track. And I got to do that my last 2 years of college. But that was my first love. And that's still my first love right now, track. It was just, fortunately, I happened to be a lot better in football than being fast in track. So that was the key to getting me a free education, and then also allowing me to be the only job I've ever been involved in my entire life, football. But I never had any sights set on being a professional athlete.
I like that because when it's unexpected, it means much more to you. You cherish it. You enjoy the journey. Whereas I feel like a lot of players now, their parents try to live vicariously through them, and they don't love the game. They love the lifestyle that comes with it. But if you go on that, it's like back in the day, it was an organic route.
Yep. No, without a doubt. And you speak of parents living through their kids. I tell the story all the time. I started playing football, I think it was 5 or 6. My mother, and she came and saw other sports, but my mother did not see me play a football game until my last game in college, because she was scared to see me play. She thought I would get hurt. So she did not see me play a football game till my last game in college, which is crazy. I know it sounds amazing, but yeah, I mean, she was very supportive. She came to other sporting events, but she couldn't come see me play football because of that fact.
Growing up for you and playing high school football, playing basketball, playing track, who did you look to as an inspiration as an athlete in that early part of your life, like a certain athlete, or outside of your father, as you said, is the greatest man ever, next to Jesus Christ? Who did you look to kind of build yourself, your game? Like, I like what he's doing.
There was really no one. My inspiration was my parents, and I know you're trying to get me out of it, but that was it.
No, it's a fact. If that's where it is, then that's where it is.
That's what it was. Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, growing up, I was a big O.J. Simpson fan. I wore 32 when I was young. I liked Tony Dorsett. But as far as someone who was inspiring me to go out there and allow me to have that work ethic, that was my parents, man. I was seeing them grind every single day, work multiple jobs, have businesses, just so allow their kids to live a great life. That was my parents. That's why my work ethic was crazy. That's why I would work myself to the exhaustion in the off season. Even in high school, my friends were like, "Why are you doing this?" It's because what I saw my parents do. I was like, if they could achieve the things they achieved with what they had, imagine what I could do with what I've been given if I just go out there and work hard. So there was no individual athlete that I latched onto. It was my mother and father and watching the things they did.
I was going to go into the next topic, which was college, but you speak so highly of your parents. You mentioned about their work ethic. You mentioned about how you speak so highly of them. For someone that never got the chance to meet them, and me growing up with my parents, they sound very similar. Mm-hmm. Could you paint the picture for me, for Betty and for Miss Betty and Mr. Garland and Stegall? Paint the picture for me about them. What were they like, and just more of, so we can understand you better, because we're all offshoots of our parents. So before we get to college, tell me about them.
Well, my father was born in 1922 in rural Georgia, Noonan, Georgia. Yeah, he was born. His grandmother was a full-fledged slave, and basically, I mean, in 1922, 1865, slavery ended, but I mean, slavery didn't really end until the beginning of World War II. So he saw a lot of things growing up. He had 10 brothers and sisters, dirt poor. When I say dirt poor, I remember at a younger age coming down and seeing some of my aunts and uncles and not having running water in the house. That's how dirt poor he was. He moved away to Cincinnati thinking he would get a better life because of the racism he was facing. And The same thing happened to him in Cincinnati, but he felt this was going to give him a better opportunity to thrive and be successful. He met my mother, who was almost 14 years younger than him. They got married. My mother went from living with her mother to directly living with my father. They got married. Long story short, they had 5 kids, and my father was a hustler. He had his own grocery store. He had real estate. He had his own lawn care service, and he had a normal 9 to 5. My mother worked at the Shriners Burns Institute for 32 years. And I used to always ask her, we used to get scrapes. And I remember I scraped up my chin. I had to get stitches, and it didn't bother her one bit. So I always asked her why, she was so rough and tough and not bothered by that. And then I saw one day what she had to deal with working at the Shriners Burns Institute every day, seeing these young kids who were sometimes 90% of their body burnt up, and how she dealt with them made me realize coming home and dealing with me with a cut on my face or my chin busted up made life seem easy. So my parents, who went through so much adversity, allowed all their kids to thrive and be successful and just be kids and be adults who contribute to society in the best way they can. So as I alluded to early, my parents were everything that put me into the place I'm in right now. And without them, I'm nothing. Without them, I'm nothing. Unfortunately, my father died at a young age. I was almost 18 when he died, but I was also fortunate that he instilled in me 18 years what allowed me to be the man that I am today.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And for all the young folks that be watching this, man, appreciate the time that you have with your parents, man. And you may think that they might be stubborn and they don't want to see you shine. They really do. And if you have a parent that ain't like that, then I'm sorry that you have to experience that. But that's a word right there. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
No problem. Yep.
So as we move forward, you attended Miami of Ohio University, and honestly, the only 2 people that I know that are alumni from there.
Hold on, stop. Hold on. Let me see. Of course, Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
One. Is Ron Harper the other? You might be too young to Ron Harper.
I know who Ron Harper is. Don't play with me. I ain't young. Ron Harper was that dude.
Yeah.
For football wise, it's obviously Ben Roethlisberger, but I don't know if you remember him. He was a wrestler, Brian Pillman.
Of course, Brian Pillman. Yes.
Yeah.
Brian Pillman.
Brian Pillman, the loose cannon.
He played a quick second with the Bengals. Yep. Yep. I know exactly who you are. Yep.
And funny thing is, he played in He went to Calgary, played for the Stanford. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. He died unfortunately at a young age too. So yeah. He was something else. Yeah.
One of my favorite wrestlers, man. And you were 4-year Letterman, 106 receptions, 1,581 yards, and 8 touchdowns. You set a career record of 1,377 kick return yards. Now, that's just all career wise, but talk to us about your experience at Miami of Ohio University, and what did you gain, and what was, I guess, like what at a time when it was more of a running game, how were you able to parlay that into a stellar career down the road? We'll get to that. But at that point, where was Milt Stegall in his football journey?
My football journey, 4 years at Miami of Ohio, I hated every minute of it. Hated every second of it. And because football wasn't fun, because it consumes your entire college life, college wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually enjoy college until I got to run track. But I'll talk about the football part of it, because going in, I didn't know what I was getting into. As I alluded to earlier, all my siblings went to college, but no one played football. My brother attempted to play his freshman year, but he tore up his knee, so he quit playing football. He was a walk-on to begin with. So I had no clue of what I was getting into. So I thought football was just football season. I thought after the football season, okay, I get to be a regular college student.
No.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you had spring and you have winter workouts, and they want you up there for some days in the summer. I'm like, what the heck? I want to do some other things. I want to have friends outside of football in college, but that was not the case. I remember my sophomore year, and I called my mother and I said, if this wasn't paying for my school, and I would quit. I'm not having any fun. Now, I was still giving it my all. I was still the hardest worker because anytime I'm going to do something, I'm going to work hard. But I didn't enjoy it. Even when I had good games or when we won, which wasn't too much, I wasn't having fun. I wasn't enjoying it. It was good that I had some good buddies who I grew up with who were my roommates. But besides that, football wasn't fun. College wasn't fun. But when I finally got to run track my last year and a half is when I really started enjoying college. But before that, single moment, because it was all about football. Everything was about football. You schedule your classes around football. You did everything because of football. You ate with your football friends. You did everything was football, and that's the one thing I did not enjoy.
You talk about track and field, obviously. I saw that your event was, if I correct me if I'm wrong, it was 100-meter dash. Talk to us
Well,
about.
my main event was the 400. Was the 400.
Okay.
That was my main event, but I was able to do the other things. So yeah, I was able to do other things. Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What was it about track that brought you that happiness in college? I know it was around. You mentioned about how it wasn't real. It was a lot. You didn't understand like why it was such a commitment. You understood, but it's like, hey, it's a lot of commitment even in the off season. But when you did track, what was it about track that drew you and just you felt, man, I'm happy now?
Yeah, well, with track, it was all about, and I'm not. I hope I'm not sounding selfish, but it was all about me. In football, which is the ultimate team sport, you need others, and regardless how hard I work, regardless how much I sacrifice, come on, a lot of guys aren't doing what I was doing. Not brag, but a lot of guys weren't doing what I was doing. So I would see these guys, and I'm like, I'm trying to be successful, even though I wasn't having fun in college. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to win. I wanted to go out there and make big plays, but these guys weren't doing that. But in track, I didn't need anyone's help. I didn't need anyone's help. As long as I was going out there and busting my butt, I knew in a race, it was because the guy was faster than me. I didn't lose because this guy was outworking me. God just gave him more speed. And majority of the time, they were not faster than me. Majority of the time, because I worked so hard, because I busted my butt. And I'm not bragging, I'm just stating facts.
No, talk it.
There weren't going to be too many guys that were faster than me. I mean, in high school, I loved track so much. I ran the 800, the 400, the 200, and the 100. I did it all. I did everything. Track is the ultimate sport. It is the most mentally challenging and physically challenging sport there is, because all you do, unless you're doing field events, all you do is run. All you do in practice is run. All you do in the meets is run. But I loved every single minute of it. I enjoyed it in high school. When I finally got to do it in college, I'm like, I wish I could have did this for 4 years straight. It would have made college so much fun. I enjoy it. There's nothing else like it. I still go out and train to this day, and I don't need anyone to train when I train by myself because it's so relaxing. And it's not the end result that I enjoy. It's the building up to it, the challenge that it presents. The fact that you got to go out there and just run and run and run, and there's nothing else, no other distractions. It's my drug and it's my therapy all at the same time, and I love it so much. And I'm gonna tell you this, and it's scary. When I'm not able to train and compete like I am right now, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a serious problem because it's something I enjoy doing so much.
That's all that matters, man. I mean, I've had a few guys on here that they talk about, like, I asked them what they like to do in their spare time. And you find that most guys that play, obviously, football or team sports, their getaway, their release is like golf, or it's, in your case, track, individualizing, where they can just, obviously, you got to be a little bit of, have an ego and be a little selfish to be a professional athlete, but that's their getaway is like checkers or cars or whatever it is, man. Something that's not as strenuous, man. But look here, you remember Michael Johnson, right?
Of course, I ran against Michael Johnson.
Where?
So after my rookie year with the Bengals, I had to go back to school and finish up, and we were running at the Drake Relays, right? So it was a professional 200. Well, it was a bunch of professional track guys, and there was an open lane. True story. I can show you the results and everything. So they needed another person to run in this open 200. Come to find out, they say, well, we have a professional football player here who's back at school, though, because he had another year of eligibility to run track. We'll put him in there. So my coach got me in there in the open 200. Of course, I came in last, but I came in last. I ran like a 21-1, and I came in. They dusted me all. But I got to run against Michael John, at the Drake Relays, in 1993.
Now, I'm coming up, and I was born in 94, and around that time, like when I got to kindergarten, he was everything. It was the gold slippers, the good little S curl, the whole nine, and a ball. Were you always bald, or is that your? Because that's your look.
No. Yeah, no. I used to have some hair. I used to have a flat top, the Bobby Brown, the little Gumby. I used to do it all when I had hair. So I used to have it all.
I ain't ashamed to admit I'm a Bobby Brown aficionado, and I had the Gumby in high school when cats didn't really understand the Gumby. But then by my junior year, I was like, all right, I need something new. They all started rocking it. I was like, all right, man, all right, y'all don't know Bobby, y'all don't know my prerogative, y'all don't know nothing like that. Shoot, y'all got you gonna make me talk evil about people. I ain't finna do all that. So. After you left Miami of Ohio, you were undrafted, but you signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, at this time, they weren't the Bengals, they were the Bungles. And you played under Dave Shula, which I think not really a fan. I wasn't really a fan of his, even though I wasn't born, but I'm learning. You actually were with some studs. You were Boomer Esiason, who I think is one of the best play-action quarterbacks ever. Carl Pickens, who's underrated. Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz, Tim Crumrye, Jeff Blake, and Darnay Scott, among other players. Harold Green, too.
Wow, okay. You did your homework.
No, I just knew this. I just wrote this down. I've been knew this. Like, I'm a history buff.
Right.
We hear so much about the Bungles in that time period. What was, for someone coming as an undrafted free agent, you were actually not just a receiver, you were a kick returner your first year. What was it like playing for the Bungles? I only hear from NFL Network, but I want to hear from a player that was inside. What was that like?
Start off with this. There's only two good things I got to play in the NFL, and that was a pension and a 401k. Other than that, it wasn't fun. I made some good friends on and off the field, even though I was from Cincinnati. I met some great people because of that, but wasn't a good experience. For me, as you talked about, I was an undrafted free agent. And so that means I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. And when you're at the bottom of the totem pole, especially on a losing team, it's very unsettling because you don't know day to day if you're going to be there. When you're losing, it's a revolving door. They're bringing guys in left and right, trying to get the team better. So what happens is in professional ranks, I think they still do this. Tuesday is the off day. And Tuesday, I would still go in, get some treatment or whatever, do some lifting. And they would bring guys in every Tuesday and work them out. And if they saw a guy they like, they would sign that guy. And if you sign a guy, that means a guy has to go. So for 3 years straight, because we were losing, every day I walked in, I'm like, is this it? The bottom of the totem pole. Is this it? So it was very unsettling. And then you have a hierarchy within the NFL team. And I don't know if this still exists. I'm just talking about my experience where a lot of guys, and this is not all the guys, but a decent amount of guys who were upper echelon, the guys who are at the top of the totem pole who are making, a lot of money. A lot of guys at the bottom of the totem pole. These guys you see every day for 6 or 7 months, and it's like you're somewhat, I won't say an outcast, but you're just not quote unquote on their level, so they don't deal with you on a regular. That wasn't all the guys, but that was some of the guys. So it's a very unsettling situation. And I'll tell you this. I think this holds true for most guys who play professional football. They don't enjoy professional football. They enjoy the spoils that come with professional football because it's a grind. It is a grind like no other. It is a grind. So those guys, they grind it out because of what it brings. And the second it's over, the grind stopped for those guys. Most professional football players, they're not working out and training when it's over because they did it because of everything that came with it. But it's not the actual sport that they enjoy. Now, some guys you might see a Patrick Mahomes. Some guys, they enjoy it. But as far as enjoying the grind and enjoying the pride and all that. It's just the things that come with it.
See, I've said that many times here on the channel. Like nobody loves. There's a difference between loving the game and being in love with the game. Same way as there's like watching the game and watching the game. Nobody really like that I've been around in 10 years coaching. A lot of players see what you can get out of it, and they'll phone it in, but there's a few guys, like you said, Patrick Mahomes, that's a lifer. Like he loves the grind. He genuinely has that. Or like God rest his soul, Kobe in the NBA with his sickness. You have to be a sick person to love it.
You do. Yeah.
But if I'm Milt Stegall and I'm competing with Eddie Brown for a kick spot, you think I was playing. Eddie Brown for number one spot. I'm doing all this work, and yet Tuesdays I gotta come in here and I see out there on the field Mike Brown and them working people out. I see what it is.
Yep. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's something else. And I tell people all the time, I wish you can just experience just a week or two around NFL, facility and see everything that goes on and see how the coaches treat certain players this way and other players this way, and how veteran players, how they talk to coaches. It's you would not believe it. There's a different conversation that goes on between a free agent rookie and an established veteran with coach. It's unbelievable. I wish I could have filmed everything back then, because I could be making millions of dollars right now. I remember the first meeting that we were in. I remember it was an offensive meeting, right? And I won't say the player. You can probably figure it out. And this was Shula's, this was his first year. He was a rookie head coach. He had just been a receiver coach with the Colts.
Yeah.
So he came in and he said, guys, offensively, we're going to do this way. And this certain player stood up and said, how we're going to do this. You just got here. This is how we're going to do this. And I'm sitting in the back like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? And the way the player said is what we did at the time, but that player wasn't there that next year. They got rid of him after that year. So, but
if it's who I think it is, man, he how do I put this? If can you give me a hint? Like, and is it
no hint. No hint. He was a high-paid player at the time. At the time, relatively speaking, he was a high-paid player. But yeah, it was just some of the things you see, and I'm sure those things are even more. They're probably even more so than that, because guys are making a lot more money now. So you know what money does to people. You know what money does to people. So it's something to see. It was an experience. It was an experience. But as I mentioned earlier, got a 401k and a pension out of it, which I can start collecting my pension next year if I wanted to, because I'll be 55, which is crazy.
we gonna go to Kingston. We're gonna go to Cancun on this one. But hey, I think I figured it out, so I'm gonna leave it at this before we transition to the CFL part. He went from Dave Shula to Rich Kotite in New York, so I don't think that was we got it wrong. We got it wrong.
That's what you think it is.
Well, you pick up on things over the years. So you did have a cup of coffee with the Green Bay Packers, but you did sustain an injury. Right. How in the world did you come across the CFL and end up in Winnipeg?
Well, the CFL came across me at the time when I got released from Green Bay. I assumed my football career was over with. My agent was like, "Well, we'll wait around a little bit, see if any other teams pick you up. But let's be realistic. You got your years in. You're a veteran now. They would have to pay you a lot more than a rookie. So there's a good chance." And then he calls me like a few days later. He's like, "There's a team in the CFL who has your rights." Like, what has my rights? Like, what exactly does that mean? They have your rights. They have a negotiating list, and you're on that list, and they would like you to come up there and play. And people have heard this story before, and I always chuckle when I tell this. I was like, "So who's the team?" And he says, Winnipeg. And my exact words, what is a Winnipeg? What is a Winnipeg was my exact words. I never heard of Winnipeg. It's 1995. I knew, the major cities in Canada at the time. I never heard of Winnipeg. So I thought to myself, I'm 25. I didn't have any responsibilities in the States. If I want to continue playing football, this was going to be my path. And September of 1995, I got on the plane, went to Winnipeg, and as they say, the rest is history. I tell this story all the time. Besides marrying my wife and my wife having my two sons, the best decision I ever made in my life. Best is signing that contract in 1995. Best decision I ever made in my life. Yep.
Well, you know what? You did make the right decision, man. I mean, let's just kind of, I'm gonna give you your flowers as if you already ain't got them.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Most touchdowns in a career with 147, most TD receptions 144, most TDs in one season with 23. Randy Moss numbers out of this world. Most yards per catch in a season, 26.5. Most career receiving yards, 15,153. I believe one of those records G-Roy broke.
G-Roy has a receiving yard, right?
Receiving yards, okay. And the one that stood out to me the most, man, CFL most outstanding player. Now, for folks that are learning about the CFL, would you please go into the little detail about how to play slot back and be successful? Because it's different from being a field and boundary receiver to a slot back.
Right. And you mentioned that it took me a second to get used to it because as an American, not knowing much of nothing at the time when I entered the CFL about the CFL, I didn't know anything about running up towards the line of scrimmage or being able to run back and forth behind the offense. I had no idea what was going on. So it took me a second to get used to that. But once I finally figured it out, is when I was able to really utilize my skill set. There'd be times where I'd run back and forth behind the line of scrimmage. And by the time I got to the line of scrimmage, the guy who was defending me was tired because I ran him so much. And it was something amazing to see. For those who haven't seen a CFL game, you have to watch it. There's nothing else like it. As you just talked about, having individuals run up towards the line of scrimmage at full speed, then running a route. And once I got used to that, I was really able to utilize it because people think I was fast. I wasn't the fastest guy, but I was able to run at my top speed the entire time. And having that run and start really helped me out. As I alluded to, it took some time to get used to. But once I did, I was really able to come into my own. And I started having fun playing football again. I had fun in high school, but the next time I started having fun playing football was when I got to the CFL. Man, you was talking about having fun. Even though I didn't win that much at the beginning, fun. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, having fun. I enjoyed going to practice. I enjoyed the guys I was around. I enjoyed the coaches, at least most of them. I enjoyed the coaches, and most of all, I enjoyed the city of Winnipeg. That was the greatest, some of the greatest, maybe the greatest 14-year span of my life. Every single day was so enjoyable.
So you did. Were you there under, you were there with Cal Murphy, or was Cal already gone?
No, I spent I got up there the last 5 or 6 games of 95. So I spent that, that quarter of a year under him, and then all of 96. Okay. And that was his last year in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm. Were you, and you were a part of, I've watched a lot of the games from the 90s and moving forward. I'm just now cracking into your most outstanding player season. And could you give us, were you a part of that game when y'all played Edmonton? And that was a brutal game. It was Cal Murphy's last game.
Oh my goodness.
What was that like? There's a pickpocket a couple games, man. What was that like, man? That was brutal.
Yeah. That game should not have been played. The field was ice. It was literally ice.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate. And what happened, the Edmonton team, they had screws in the bottom of their cleats. So we're out there slipping all over the place, and they're just making cuts. And I mean, the slowest guy, there was a guy, Sandusky, who was as slow as I don't know what, but he was out there cutting, making plays, doing everything. And we're out there just slipping. And once they finally figured out they had some screws, they made them, I think they made them go take it up, but the game was over.
They made Gizmo go to the locker room. And then I remember they had Dave Sapungis on announcing, and they had a shot of, I think it was the your equipment guys. They had to go to like a sports store, bring cleats back. And the first time I watched it, I was like, this would never happen in the NFL. Like, what is going on? And then you had a QB battle between Ken Austin and Reggie Slack.
And Reggie Slack.
Now I had Don Darcy, shout out to Ugg, man. He had some funny stories about Reggie Slack, man, and just that. But it encapsulated that game, man. You talk about Jim Sandusky, you got Gizmo, you've got all like bona fide Hall of Famers. But what was the conversation on the sideline? Like, we're getting blown out, and
getting blown. Yeah.
What was happening?
It was a bad scenario. There was a lot of things going on. There were guys who knew this was it for them. There was some guys on the sideline saying, "This is my last game." They knew this was it for them. I think Kyle Murphy knew this was his last game. Ken Austin, his last game plan. You know, there were a lot of guys who knew that was it for them. And there was some talk on the sideline like, "Man, this is the way things are going to end." So once that league got to a point where we knew we weren't going to come back. Those were the conversations. Unfortunately, guys started talking about, this is it. I enjoyed my career, not only, playing for Winnipeg, but playing, period. Because they knew it was going to be a bunch of changes come next year because the team had not lived up to where it had been in previous years. 95 and 96 were some down years for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So there was a lot of people in that sideline that knew that was it. And the fact that the game ended like that, it wasn't pretty. But that's part of life. You're going to face those things. But that game, from a Winnipeg Blue Bomber standpoint, it wasn't a good game in many ways.
It's funny that the parallel of that, when you mentioned here, some guys knew it was the end for them, but for you a young pup coming in here, you had a lot. Did you feel like you had a lot of upside moving forward, or was it, hey, I'm just happy to be here?
There were still some things I weren't sure about. I still didn't know anything about the CFL, how things were structured. I was still trying to figure things out. I was going to be a free agent after that year. I didn't know exactly what that meant, how that would impact me. So I was still somewhat in a fog. I didn't know exactly what direction I was going to go in, how free agency was going to work, if other teams were going to call, me or whatever. I had no idea what was going on. So it was still some unsettling times for me at that moment.
But with you sticking around, man, and you parlaying a really good few years under your belt now, I'm going to talk about this because I know you've been asked this, and I hate when I have these conversations with people and I have to ask these questions because you've had to answer it many, many times. So I'm going to try my best to make it interesting for you. And
no problem. Yeah.
I'm going to put these down for a second. I want to pick your brain for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've seen many articles. I've heard many things. I've talked with many Winnipeg fans about the fact that you're the greatest player to never win a Grey Cup.
Mm-hmm.
You had one stellar performance. You had 11. Let me double check the stats. 11 receptions, 118 yards, and one touchdown in the 89th Grey Cup in 2001 against Calgary.
Right.
Little bit of the second one against Saskatchewan, 5 for 85 yards, but I don't want to poo-poo on it or nothing like that, but I just want to
whatever you want to add. Whatever, come on, man. All right. It's football. It's not that serious.
No, it's the way they portray it. Like, you're this downtrodden you got to be upset, downtrodden, and downright miserable because you didn't win a Grey Cup. But talking with you and seeing you on TV and all that stuff, you're not beat up about that.
Not one.
What's that feeling?
No,
Like,
no. As I just talked about it,
yeah,
man. It's football. I played professional football for 17 years. Not too many individuals who can say that, 3 in the NFL and 14 in the CFL. And my 14 years in the CFL, like I just told you, was every single day in Winnipeg. The way I was treated, the friendships on and off the field. I mean, great memories. Yes, I won't sit up here and say I would have loved to win every 2 Grey Cups, 1 Grey, whatever, but I didn't. But because I had such a great time playing football in Winnipeg throughout the CFL, I enjoyed it. And as I said, football is football. That's all it is.
that's what I
If you
say.
if you start putting
Wow.
everything into what you did on the football field, you're not going to last, because football is going to divorce you one day. Very few people leave football on their own terms. I was fortunate enough to be part of that 1% who left on their own terms. Even when you hear guys say, well, I'm going to retire, they're retiring a lot of times because no one else wants to sign them. I
Right.
left on my own terms. I enjoyed every single day. I played in a great city, made some great friends. My youngest son was born in Winnipeg. Man, and I enjoyed playing football. As I said before, yes, I would have loved to won 50 million Grey Cups, but I didn't. But I enjoyed my time in Winnipeg, and football is football. It's not a life-changing situation. So there are still some guys I talk to now who are, man, I wish I'd have won a Grey Cup. That changed my blah blah. No, it's football. At the end of the day, it's
It's not
football,
that
and that's
deep.
all it is. It's nowhere that deep.
Right.
Nowhere near that deep. Yep.
Do you feel like the media, and you working in the media now and all that, do you feel like sometimes they kind of milk that a little? No pun intended, but they milk that a little bit by saying, "Oh, they're trying to dictate the narrative of he's got to feel miserable. He's got to feel like this." But why do they do that? I just want to know why do they make up these fallacies like they're in your brain, like like you're laying in bed every night and you're I wish I would have won a Grey Cup. I wish I would have won a Grey Cup. But why do they do that?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. Especially early on after I retired,
Right.
people used to say that all the time. I've also heard people say, "Well, he can't be considered one of the greatest because he didn't win a Grey Cup." So there's a lot of narratives out there. People are trying to strike up conversations and strike up, controversy. I mean, I understand, but as far as I'm good with it. I'm really not concerned with what individuals say, and some people joke about it, but and bring up those things. And I have no problem with people joking about it because it's football. As you mentioned, it's not that deep. It's not going to change anything. If I had 10 Grey Cups right now, my life, I don't think it would be different compared to me not having 0 Grey Cups, because of what I was able to do on the field and the relationships I was able to form in Winnipeg. But a lot of individuals just want to bring up their narratives that they think are going to strike some controversy and bring some I don't know, some type of conversation up. But none of that stuff bothers me at all.
See, I respect the hell out of that right there, man. But as you get down the line, you get near the end of your career, man, you've done everything you wanted to, and then you retire in was it 07? I was double checking.
08 was I retired in 09. 08 was my last year.
Because they were I saw a quote that said they got Winnipeg gave you an extension, and you were like, I'm paraphrasing, but you said, if I'm here, this might be it. Like, is that true?
Well, they gave me an extension every year, my last 6 or 7 years. That was how I got a signing bonus. Like I said, Winnipeg, Laubauer and Brendan Tam, and they treated me too well. So I got an extension every year. But 07 was going to be my last year originally. I'm 99% sure. And then after the year, me and my wife, we said that was it. But Winnipeg called me and asked me, would you like to come back for one more year? And, I talked to my wife and she was like, okay, but we're pregnant, so we got to go up there with you, which was great. And going into that year, if I knew I was going to have that knee surgery that I had, I didn't know that until right before training camp, like a month before I was going to have microfracture surgery, I wouldn't have came back and played because that surgery requires a 9 to 12 month rehab period. And I actually came back in 3 months. I didn't practice at all that year. I just tried to play in the games because the ball had already been rolling. But knowing that, I wouldn't have definitely played that year. But we knew that was it. It was set in stone. That was going to be my last year. But, I signed an extension every year for me, allow me to get that signing bonus that for an American is only taxed at 15%.
I gotta learn that. You got to put me on game with some of that tax stuff because they try to get you. They try. I see it like you be thinking, oh yeah, I got a little. No. So for you, when it was all said and done, walked away on your own terms, which I respect the hell out of that. You turned into one of the best media personalities on TSN. Did you already have that in place before you retired, or were you just, hey, they offered you something after?
No, I didn't have that in place. There were some things that going for me that I could have transitioned to, but media actually wasn't one of them. And I'll tell you how it came about. In 2007 at the Grey Cup, a guy named Brian Williams, who used to work for CBC, worked for TSN for years. He's one of the greatest media personalities in Canadian history. He was talking to me. He was like, "You may have a future in TV in the CFL when you're all done." So I'm like, okay. He's like, no, I'm going to look into it. So, a little while after I retire, I get a call. Want to give you a shot. We want to give you a shot on the panel. I'm like, what? Yes, we want to give you a shot. So I show up with no practice. As I mentioned, no preseason, nothing. I had no idea what's going on. I'm there one day. I watch the panel. Days later, I'm on the panel. I have no idea what's going on. I have no reason why. I have an earpiece in my ear. I have no clue what's going on. Basically, in that business is we're going to throw you in the middle of the ocean. We're going to see if you can sink or swim. So that was how I got thrown into it. I was fortunate that I always mention there's some great individuals helping me out. The late Chris Schultz. There's a producer who passed away, a guy named Tony Darchi. And a guy who's still there now, Jamie Rydell. Without those three guys, especially Chris Schultz. Without Chris Schultz, I wouldn't have been able to make it because I had no idea what was going on. But he coached me a lot. It was some hard coaching sometimes, but he coached me a lot and allowed me to still continue doing it. And hopefully I can continue doing it for at least 4 or 5 more years. I would like to do that, but it was difficult at the beginning. But like I said before, I had some great individuals help me out.
See, there's sometimes where people that work in the media, they don't like a player going into their field of work because they didn't pay the dues.
Yep. That happened. That definitely happened. There were some individuals like that. No need to say any names, but that definitely happened. Yep.
Now, as there's one thing that I've noticed, 2 things actually about you that I'm gonna bring up about your media career, man. Where the hell do you be getting these fire suits? Because we that's how we kind of connected a little bit. Was I said, hey, you guys show me how to do this, man? Because them suits, man, it ain't no Steve Harvey suits, but them suckers is looking good. Has that always been you, like you dapper, or what is the secret? What's the sauce? Put it on me, man.
It's what's underneath. It's not the suit. It's the way the suit fits on Milt Stegall's body, baby. What are you talking? I could go.
I'm just saying.
I could go get us, and I have a great individual who designs the suits, but it's I have my input, but it's the way the suit is cut for Milt. I can go get a suit from Walmart right now and make sure it's cut and it fits my body, and it's going to look like $1 million suit, baby. My good buddy who I love to death, I call him the little brother. I never wanted my man David Sanchez. David dresses okay, but he's not built like me. He doesn't have that capital Y build like myself, where his suits don't fit like me.
Right.
He dresses nice, but it's what's underneath, baby. It's what's underneath that makes the suits.
That John Witherspoon mentality. You got to coordinate. You got to coordinate. I'll catch you wearing polka dots on TSN. We gonna have to talk, man. But I think you can pull that off. I think you can pull off the polka dots, man. That's because there was the one that I reached out to. You was like, man, you gotta show me how to dress. It was some red one that you wore. And not a lot of people can wear. The only person I know that could wear a red suit and not, well, he was intimidating. It was Suge Knight. So, but you made it look smooth. You I don't know. It's something about your style, man. And it's not those old school Stacey Adams player suits with the stripes.
No, it's not that. No,
you got that. I'll get that to you, OG. You got that. But
I appreciate it.
The other thing I wanted to ask, man, and I watched. I don't know if you're familiar. I know you're probably familiar with the Journey to the Grey Cup, the little docuseries that they usually
right.
do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as I've been kind of doing it, starting to react to the stuff, whatever. I did the Ottawa Red Blacks one, 2016, I believe, and there was a clip in there, and I just want to get the context behind it, what you meant by it. Henry Burris was out, and then he came back, and then they won a game, and he's made a comment saying some stuff, whatever, and then it panned over to you, and you said, you sound like a child. Now, I respect direct comment, like direct, straight up. That's just you. You're direct. What was there like any backlash that you got from that? It always kind of stuck. Maybe it wasn't a big deal, but was there like what made you say that?
I actually can't remember that. That's it. I don't remember. So you say Henry said something, and Henry and I are great friends.
Yeah.
But so I can't remember everything that went into that conversation. I actually can't remember. If you could give me more detail.
Okay, so it was a post-game interview. He was on the field. He says, I'm paraphrasing, but he's in context of it, he said, I've been in this league for so many years. I done turned around 3-4 franchises. So to all you naysayers and you critics, you can blah, blah, blah. And then maybe because the way they cut it, it was you on the panel. And the words you used were, you sound like a child. And I was like, it threw me for a loop because I naturally, I thought, y'all were cool. You say, now you tell me.
Oh, we're really cool.
Yeah.
No, we're really, and that's why I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like you say, the way they cut it, and they just sliced it together to make sure I don't remember saying that at all. Not one bit. Yeah. I don't remember. And I've said some things to Henry on there, and man, Henry and we joke about it, but I don't remember saying that at all. And why would I say that? I don't understand why I would say that. So yeah. That's
why I'm asking, because I wanted, because Henry, I think the world of Henry Burris. He just got the job at
Florida A&M, exactly. Yep.
Have you thought about getting into coaching, or are you just cool?
Never.
You can't.
And I honestly say this: I would coach track, but as far as football, it would have to be 46 Milt Stegall. That's the only way I could coach football, because I know what I'm getting out of Milt Stegall. I know he's going to be in tip-top shape. I know he's prepared. I know he's going to be on time. I'm not judging anybody. Actions. I know he's not going drinking before the game. I know he's eating. I know he's doing it. Like I said, I'm not judging anybody. But there's no way I could coach an individual who does not have the same mindset or the same approach I had to the game. Right. So there's no way I could coach. I don't think so. Never say never, but I'm going to say never coaching football.
You're just honest, and I respect it. I respect that, man, because some players, they try, but your expectation, because you were great, some people can't live up to that, and that's fine. Now, before we get into the last the rapid fire questions, man, we all got to know, what the hell is #paper plates?
No, I get asked that all the time.
I don't care about everybody else. I just want to know.
Well, hold on. There's only two people who know what that means. That's me and my oldest son. My wife doesn't even know. She doesn't know. The woman who gets to sleep by this beautiful face every night doesn't know. She doesn't know. So how could I tell you?
I mean, I thought Ebony Kang would pass it on to a young Ebony Kang, so I could pass it on to my two light skins. But it's fine. He's so I guess y'all we ain't gonna find out today on Deep in the Game. We'll probably never know.
Happen.
So you gonna put on your tombstone, in your headstone, hashtag paper plates. Is that what we gonna do?
Maybe. I like that.
See, now I'm giving you ideas, man. All right. These are the final 5 questions. They're rapid fire questions for people to understand you. You ready to go?
Ready.
You ready to go?
I'm ready. Yes, no, I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. All right. What type of music does Milt Stegall listen to?
Old school R&B, old school hip hop. I listen to some gospel, but it's a lot of old school R&B and hip hop. I love that. Yeah, that's my favorite.
What's your go-to?
Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, the greatest talent ever. Not only singing, but writing. All the writing. Love some. I can listen to Stevie Wonder. My favorite song is "Living for the City." It's deep. It has a deep message in it. Yeah. It's a longer song, but that's I think that's my favorite Stevie Wonder song.
I think my favorite Stevie Wonder song would be "Overjoyed."
Overjoyed, yeah.
Man, that all I need is some water or be on a beach and I'm gone.
Right.
Take me away.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Shoot. Take us to next question. What is one of your most prized or funniest moments in your career? A funny story, whether it's Cincinnati, Green Bay, Miami of Ohio, Winnipeg. What is a funny moment or interaction or whatever the case?
To go back to high school. It's funny. It wasn't funny for the guy it happened to. So in high school, it was a big play, and this guy caught a pass, and I'm running down the field, and I'm about to celebrate with him. I mean, he has an easy touchdown, but I accidentally trip him up. at like the 10-yard line, and I end up scoring the touchdown. So it was they ended up throwing the pass to me for the touchdown. So some people thought I did it on purpose, and it was funny to me. It wasn't funny to the guy it happened to, but that was funny to me. So that was a pretty funny story.
You know what? We'd have to see each other we're gonna see each other in the parking lot because you take a touchdown away from me. Oh, best believe we got to talk, Milt. We got to talk.
We got some problems, right?
Oh, yeah. Right. Next question. If you could play for Cal Murphy, Dave Ritchie. God rest his soul. Recently passed away. If those two are very similar personalities. If you could choose one word to describe both of them, what would that word be?
Murphy. Rigid.
Rigid. All right, baby, have fun. Love you.
Rigid. Dave Ritchie.
I can't hear you.
What would I say for Dave Ritchie? Say homie.
Say again?
Yeah. Homie.
Homely or homie?
Homie. No, you know what? Is that a good word for Rich? You know what? Unpredictable. I think that's a good word for Coach Ritchie. Unpredictable. I would go with unpredictable.
Okay. Why would you say rigid for Cal Murphy and unpredictable? Because I like unpredictable.
I had some other words I could have said, but I won't say them about Cal Murphy.
Curmudgeon.
Cal Murphy and we didn't have a great relationship. I won't say it was bad, but it wasn't a great relationship. I know when I didn't, like I said, I didn't spend that much time with him, but I know once I got a job in the media, he was displeased with a lot of things I said, and he voiced those things to some other individuals, not to me. And it wasn't anything personal. He was just displeased with some of the reactions I had to some individuals, some of his friends who were coaches, and he said some things about me, not in a bad way, but just as a coach, I just witnessed heard some of the things he would say to individuals who weren't the nicest things or weren't the best things to say to individuals at the time. So I'll go with Reggie. I'll leave it at that. And I hate speaking of him because he's not here to defend himself. So I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
You're not the first receiver that's played for him that's been on the show that's been displeased. It had not when. You know what? Next question, because I'm gonna say something out of pocket. I do have a good one for you right here. For someone that's been in the media and someone being African American male in the media in another country, what knowledge could you pass down to me to be successful?
I know you've probably heard this. Try to be something you're not. Be something you're not. If you're not able to be authentic, to be original, to be yourself, it's maybe not meant for you. If you have to morph into something that you are not naturally able to do, it's not meant to be. And I'm able to be myself, to be organic, to speak the words that I want to speak. I've been put in spaces where I'm able to do that. I would also say make sure you over prepare so you have the information there. Even though 99% of the information you have, you're not going to use, but you need to have it there just in case. And also make sure you talk to individuals who have your best interests at heart. Make sure you talk to individuals who are already done it, but who also are going to steer you in the right direction. Because there are some individuals who have done it, but because they see you as a threat, they may steer you in the wrong direction. They may give you some bad advice. So make sure you're able to decipher those individuals who are going to give you that good advice, who are looking out for your best interests, so you are going in the right direction. So I think those are the three most important things, with one being, of course, being yourself, being authentic, being original. If you can do that, or can see that you're doing that, have success.
We're on the right path. We are on the right path. That's why I had to ask, what can I do to be better? So I appreciate that. Thank you. And last question. After the journey Milt Stegall's been on his entire career, his life, we did a word association with Cal Murphy and Dave Ritchie. Give us one word about Milt Stegall. Say it again.
The one word that describes me is trustworthy. One word that describes me. If I don't say I'm going to do much, I say I'm going to do something. And you can ask anybody who's been around me, anybody. I don't care if it's been for years or a second. Milt Stegall, and I hate to talk in third person, but I'm going to do it. Milt Stegall say he's going to do something, it's going to get done, regardless of what it's in. If I owe you a penny, billionaire, and it's going to take me $1 million just to get you that penny, and I say I was going to get you that penny, get you that penny. 100%.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And since you want to talk about, I don't want to talk in third person, there's only 6 guarantees in this world. So in closing, man, hey, thank you. It's a privilege. It's been a privilege and honor. Great to sit here and talk with you, Milt. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, well, your morning, day, afternoon, wherever it is, wherever you are, to come and sit and talk with me, man. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me on. And like I said, thanks for the support you give to the CFL, man. It opens up so many eyes, and we appreciate it 100%.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And y'all gonna have to get me on TSN at some point in time, because they want it. And but here's the thing, though. Here's the issue. This is the clash, though, that I have. You can't have 2 Ebony Kangs on one camera. So I mean, could that work?
It could work. You understand that once you get up there, I'm going to outshine you, because cute in the face and thin in the waist. You're going to be there, but they're going to still be looking at this right here. So just understand that if and when you get there, I'm still going to be the focus. You know that, right?
Hey, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Now I may not be heavy D, but overweight lover gonna be in the house, baby. Don't get it twisted. Now I got you. Hey,
I got you.
Hey.
So last question for you. Now you made a trip up to Regina, right? Am I correct? You're in Regina. You plan on making a trip to the greatest city in Canada, Winnipeg?
I've been there twice.
Oh, you've been there? I didn't see that. I saw you.
I was at the Banjo Bowl. And I was at the West Final. And I will be back. I was at the West Final, and then I will be back for Banjo Bowl again this year in Winnipeg.
So make sure when you get there, you take some pictures on Milt Stegall Drive. You know that. You got to get the
Yes, I know about Milt Stegall Drive.
I'm just making sure.
I got you. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna find Milt Stegall Drive, you know what I'm saying? But hey, thank you again. I appreciate you.